Dear viewers, welcome to yet another episode of Expert Speaks. These days, we have a lot of parents in India whose children have become NRIs, have no intention of coming back to India. Parents live in kind of a dilemma, a doubt, a fear that my assets, what happens if something were to go wrong? Children have no intention to come back. They may not take care of us during our good old days. They may not stay closer to us. What happens? I'm going to ask these questions to the expert of the week, Mr. Nikhil Varghese of Yellow. Stay till the end of this video. There are practical insights and the practical solutions to come around this particular problem and safeguard your assets and well-being of yourself as well. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant, but your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, expert of the week is Mr. Nikhil Varghese. Mr. Nikhil Varghese is founder at Yellow, a startup dedicated for democratizing the will creation. Mr. Nikhil Varghese, by profession, is a chartered accountant. He has the rich experience of working for more than 15 years in companies like EY, PwC, and before he started the venture called Yellow, he was heading the South Indian division of a wealth management company, and he has very rich experience in the estate planning. Welcome to this episode, Mr. Nikhil Varghese.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatt, to have me on this show again, and I would love to have another interactive conversation with you.
Mr. Nikhil, let's immediately get started with this. There are a lot of parents today whose children have become NRIs, have no intention of coming back to India. They live in dilemmas, fear, doubts. What happens during my old days? What happens to my assets? What happens to myself? Who will take care of me? You have spent so much time in estate planning. You have worked closely with the families. Your day-to-day work involves around dealing with such cases. What message you have for the audience?
No, absolutely right. As in, from a senior perspective, there are multiple things that we can do. We can go into details, but very honestly, if you look at it at a very high level, if you were to look at what a senior should at least do, given that there's a good financial hygiene put in place, at least taking a fact that, are they not well protected? Children may not take care of them. If you're looking at it from that angle, few basic hygiene that needs to be done. If I have to elaborate or get to certain list of it, one could be essentially have an health insurance in place. Second, have liquid assets or emergency funds so that, it's accessible to you, because many a times if you see, you will be aware of this, is that they have good amount of real estate assets fully illiquid, and the emergency situation arises, it becomes very difficult to gain access to the assets. Third, of course, have a will or a trust depending on the objectives that the individual needs to achieve. And fourth, as an option, you could look at, also exploring senior homes or senior communities, assisted living communities, which will really take care of your lifestyle needs at the fag end of your lifestyle.
I fully agree with you, Nikhil. And we also, at our financial planning levels, keep talking about health insurance. Senior citizens think that 1 lakh or 2 lakh of health insurance is adequate. It's no insurance. They must have a large enough, nothing less than 10 lakhs, and ideally 25 lakh kind of a health insurance. Because somebody gets into an ICU or a prolonged illness, these small limits will not come to their rescue. Even if you go to some tier 2, tier 3 cities today, getting out of an hospital with less than 1 lakh of bill is just a wishful thinking. It doesn't happen. So they need to be doing this. Probably the NRI children, the best gift they can give it to their parents is to give a nice, good health insurance policy, and they pay for it. And that's, really helping the parents. Likewise, emergency funds. Senior citizens should not be worried too much about what returns they get, but rather they should maintain good amount of liquidity. Do not worry too much about return aspect of it. And if in a normal course, when we say maintain an emergency fund of 1 or 2 years, in case of senior citizens, I would normally recommend people have at least 3 to 4 years of your cash needs as an emergency funds. Do not worry about the returns on this. Liquidity becomes the paramount thing. Now, coming to your own subject, the wills and trusts and other things, how to go about it?
Certainly, I'll get into the details of how you can go about an estate plan. And a fundamental or a foundation of any estate plan is to have a well-crafted will. That's basically a legal document which clearly specifies what your assets are, how these assets needs to be distributed among your loved ones after your passing. But a good estate plan doesn't stop at just creating a will, but it needs to go beyond depending on the objectives that one need to achieve. right? And specifically when you're looking at senior citizens, there are a few things that need to check the box so that they are well protected. First thing here could be having a living will or an advanced medical directive in place, which clearly outlines what your medical care should be, how it needs to be taken care of, should you be in a situation of an incapacity, right? What is incapacity is basically medical incapacitation, could be a situation of coma, ventilator, whatever the scenario arises. If you are not able to take that call, who should take it on your behalf so that things are very clear? And if you're not leaving the family on guilt of saying what decision should have been taken. What would Nikhil feel at this point in time is not the question. It's about what I feel is already provided to the family so they can take that specific call. Second, have a nomination in place. Obviously, nomination is something which is, while it's not a estate plan per se, your will overrides nomination. But having a nomination for a financial accounts and insurance policy really helps in the expediting the pace at which your assets can be claimed from financial institutions. Therefore, aligning your will along with nomination is a good fact pattern to have. Have certain letter of instructions for your executors detailing how your funeral wishes, etc., what location your important documents are. All these really helps in recovering what your assets are and clearly helping with ensuring these go to the right persons who you want these assets to go to. And for the last aspect could be, what are other tools that you could look at if in terms of your wishes, what you spoken about is not fully covered, your will is not giving you the complete answer on any of the aspects that I spoke about, be it nomination, be it letter of wishes that you want to give to your executor, or even plain simple gift, POA, etc. If it's not meeting your requirement, then look at advanced tools like having a trust in place, which could be much more beneficial for the family.
You mentioned trusts. Trusts are not that popular in India. There is not a great deal of awareness about it, what it does. Will is known. Will is quite well known. And when you talk about will, it doesn't need to be stressing that point. Whereas trust is something which is not very familiar. Has it gained ground, or which category of people have to use trust, and what exactly is the benefit a trust creation helps?
No, true, you're absolutely right. It's not a popular instrument per se or a tool per se, but it's gaining actual popularity now, right? A trust can provide more control on how your assets are managed and distributed, even during your lifetime. And more importantly, you can set guidelines in a way that these assets are fully managed the way you want to post your lifetime as well. Broadly, it establishes that, your wishes are very crystal clear. It's very useful in terms of providing possible mitigation for dispute in terms of if there's a potential family dispute, having a trust, etc., really helps in avoiding those disputes because your instructions are very clear, no ambiguity, and that will ensure that your family is fully taken care of. And having specific wishes on how your money should be used after you're not there. So your spouse's, specifically if you look at it for couples, your spouse's interest needs to be fully protected. And therefore, having a trust in place, especially I'm not generalizing this, if you see after the male partner passes away, wife is not fully equipped to handle financial decisions. And in those scenarios also, while she is taken care of, can somebody manage for them is where a trust becomes extremely handy.
Dear viewers, we have tied up with Yellow for creation of online wills. If any of you are interested to create your own wills through an online mode, you can make best use of services provided by Yellow. We have given in the description box below a link where you can click and you can create your own online will. In case if you have any doubts, you can send them a message to give you a call back, and you should be guided there on how to create an online will yourself. Likewise, if you are interested to create a trust, you can make best use of services provided by NRI Money Clinic through Yellow. You can reach to us through a WhatsApp message on the number that is given in the description box below. And to facilitate the reaching to us on the WhatsApp, they've also given a link below there. All that you have to do is click on the link. It takes you to the WhatsApp, and you can send us an exploratory message. We can assist you in creation of trust through the team of Yellow here. Do not delay. If you have an interest to protect your assets, you can make best use of this opportunity given by NRI Money Clinic. Nikhil, one question that comes to my mind is, somebody will do a trust, somebody will do a will, but at some point of time during their lifetime, they suddenly become incapacitated. A critical illness, a memory loss, something which prevents them from executing or, going on with their life affairs in a normal way. In such cases, how can they protect themselves?
That's a great question, sir. Incapacity is something, though today we are talking about for seniors, it has hit even youngsters, right? And there's a reality, it can happen to anyone. Life is uncertain, and therefore there's something that planning that is required. Especially when you're talking something for seniors, what we should be mindful about is incapacitation. And it can be, like you said, physical, mental. And bigger point here is that when your incapacitation hits you, at that point in time, all your assets are frozen, resulting in both your medical requirements as well as your family's lifestyle needs are disrupted, right? That's a big key here, that access to funds becomes limited because your assets are frozen. While we can have power of attorney, etc., to kind of facilitate this, while it's an option, in our experience, that's not been a great option. And that's where, again, trust comes into picture, which becomes a solid solution for incapacity planning. Why? Because in a trust, what happens is that you are moving assets into the trust today, and you're the controller. Should incapacity hit you, the way the trust language can be worded in such a fashion that you move aside and the next in line takes charge of the trust proceedings in such a fashion that your medical needs, your family's lifestyle needs are all taken care of, and there's no real disruption in the family. And therefore, incapacity is something which is critical, and planning for that is very, very important.
See, one of the things which goes on in the minds of parents is children are outside. I am approaching to the other end of my life cycle. I'm expecting to exit this world at some point of time. Normally, parents think that, let me gift some of my assets to my children. Can they do so? Or are there any caveats which come along with that? Or you have better ideas for those parents who are thinking about gifting assets to the children?
Again, a great question, right? And in fact, it's like an irony here, because we started off saying if children are not taking care of parents, what do we do? And now we're talking about, should we gift at all, right? And having said that, while gifting is a great succession planning tool because access is going to them immediately, it should also be used in a very cautious manner. Why I'm saying this is because once you gift, you lose control of the asset. Then after that, you need to look at who else, how to gain access to these if there's really a need for you, right? And therefore, it's always important that you look at gifting. While it's a great tool, look at gifting in a small portion for events, birthdays, weddings, whatnot. You can take a call, gift a very small portion of your assets, and the rest can go by virtue of your will, trust, whatever tools that you take, because you need to have control. It's your asset. You need to have control. You don't want to be in the shoes of Singhania. You've heard of the Singhania case, Raymond family. We should not be falling in the same mistake that others are done by gifting entire assets to your kids. And that's something which is very, very crucial here in terms of gifting.
But the question is, we are doing this video today. There are parents who have already gifted and on the receiving end from their children. Are there any laws which will protect the senior citizen in case if they have already gifted and they have nothing at their disposal?
See, if they've already gifted, unfortunately, there's nothing much you can do to take those assets back unless you have had certain wordings in the gift deed to talk about senior protection, right? There's a legal law which talks about protection or revoking a gift under Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act. In simple, we loosely use this as Senior Citizens Protection Act, by which if you were to gift a property to your children and you've mentioned about your maintenance needs to be taken care of under the Senior Citizens Protection Act, should your children not do anything about it and you're left high and dry, then you have the provision under the law to revoke these assets, right? But if you have not mentioned this, then it becomes very tricky, and that's the case that Singhania is fighting now.
Very interesting. Anyway, one error of judgment, and instead of having a golden years of your life, you end up fighting the court battles or pleading with your children for the basic needs of life. Very sad indeed. And no one should reach to that particular point. Exercise enough care, and let's wish that you have a good life ahead. One thing is practical here. There's nobody around me during my old days. You spoke about senior living communities. Is it gaining ground in India? How can senior citizens or the parents of NRI children can make best use of it? At what stage we are in India today?
No, this is again a great question, right? As in, senior living assisted communities is very, very popular in the Western countries. In fact, there is counties which are like spread only for senior retirement and whatnot, right? Including everything, healthcare, entertainment, activity. So they basically, the lifestyle there is that you're pretty much lonely. In India, the emotional quotient for families or the dynamics is a little different, that you're all together. But that's kind of changing, right? With families spread apart in various countries, remote scenarios. And therefore, there are gaining trends in terms of seniors being alone at a later point in time. And therefore, planning early becomes really important, and that really pays off. There are enough and more communities that are kind of coming up with respect to senior living. Large builders are taking this as an initiative to build those senior living communities, because then the same group of people are together, they take care for each other, and also have all the other amenities like life, medical requirement, entertainment, other things that are happening together. This is something which is happening. Therefore, like I said, you need to start planning early, and you could look at considering to purchase or planning for retirement communities or assisted living facilities at an early age itself. And strictly speaking, I think all of us should start thinking about it, about what had happened 20, 30 years hence. Where do you want to be? How do you want to kind of live the later part of your lives, right? Do you want to be worried about being alone, etc.? Or do you want to be part of a community which is thriving, having the right cultural mix that you want to be in, and lead a happy living scenario, and not be in a situation where you're alone and figuring out who will come and meet me? And that becomes very crucial. This is really gaining precedence in India. It's gaining to that extent is that because there's demand shock, or rather supply shock with respect to available communities. It also requires booking in advance, and booking very well in advance, because there's no as much supply today. Of course, that's the reason why builders are kind of bringing up these facilities much more today, but you need to plan in advance so that you can get a seat or a block a particular community where you want to be, because you'll get a perspective of it. And more importantly, for many presume that such senior living facilities are not well maintained. The perception is very different in India, but it's not the case. There are even ultra luxury retirement assisted living communities that are springing up in the country, and therefore, if you do a little bit of research, you'll get a much better perspective of what you can do. In fact, you can have a much more comfortable life than what you would have done staying in your individual home outside of these communities.
Thank you, Nikhil. These are great points, and if people adhere to this, they can have a very good retired life. And before we conclude, any final advice for the listeners?
Yes, absolutely. I would emphasize the importance of staying financially independent. That's more important for seniors, because if you're left alone, you need to be financially independent. Continue to educate yourself about financial matters. Stay cautious of various scams that are coming up which are targeted for seniors. Stay away from it. There are enough and more data points that is coming your way. Do not click unwanted or unverified links that is coming your way through SMS, WhatsApp, emails. Just stay away from it. The more important aspect is that you should not be afraid to seek professional help. Be it for financial matters, be it for legal matters, be it for healthcare matters. Just seek professional help. Your requirement is of utmost importance. Do reach out to them, and remember, planning ahead gives you complete control over your future. That's the point that I would leave for the audience today.
Nikhil, thank you very much for all this information for the benefit of our audience community. We remain in gratitude to you for your kindness and time.
Thank you once again to invite us and be part of your show and interact with your community. I think it's an honor for us to be here, and look forward to having many more such conversations.
Dear viewers, hope the episode we have done helped you to understand how, as the lonely parents living in India, you can secure your interests, assets, and how you can make sure that you will not have surprises, the negative surprises during your lifetime. If it did give you the right direction, what you need to be doing, please do give me a thumbs up. If you are a person who is yet to subscribe for this channel, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Do not forget to share these videos with your near and dear ones, friends and relatives, and all the WhatsApp groups on which you are connected with. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you next Tuesday with yet another topic, with yet another expert. Till then, stay safe. Jai Hind.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.